Oh, can you quickly tell us about the French guy that wanted to marry you?
Oh my God.
We'll end the episode right now.
They'll be like, tell us about the French guy.
Guys, tell us about the French guy.
He just slid into my DMs. I don't know. I have no idea who this guy is.
Yeah, that was quite intense.
Oh, he's still going at it. Hold on. Let me just see.
Does he watch the show? Because he said he researched you.
I have no idea.
I don't know what that means in French.
Yeah, there's something about the phrase sliding into DMs. Like everybody says that. They slid into my DMs. And you know how a lot of people don't like the word moist?
Yeah.
That word doesn't bother me at all, but there's something about sliding into DMs that just
sounds moist.
It does, yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, you gotta be lube, right? You need lube to slide into something. So
yeah.
Okay. Hi.
Hola.
Hi. Hi, I'm Lenora. I'm the creator of The Bitchy Bookkeeper.
Hi, I'm Isabel, founder and firebrand of The Uprising Spark.
Hi, I'm Kristen, author of The Age of the Child, and we are the 3 founding non-mothers of Childfree Girls. Today we're doing something a little different, and we're just going to ask Isabel some questions today about Isabel and about stuff she's doing that is not within the realm of Childfree Girls.
You mean there's a world outside of Childfree Girls? What the heck? I thought we devoted our entire existence to this.
Who knew?
Almost.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
I'm ready.
So where you're from, what do you do?
And who are you and why are you here?
That's how we greet all of our guests behind the scenes.
Why are you here?
Well, I am Colombian. I'm in my late 30s. It was my birthday recently, actually. And what else? I was born here, but I was raised mostly in Colombia, but I've lived in 5 different countries. So I feel more like a citizen of the world. And I know that sounds really cliche, but I really do. Like traveling for me is just the best thing ever. Why am I here? Because I'm child free and I want to raise more awareness about the child free choice, about reproductive rights, about reproductive responsibilities. I guess that's it in a nutshell.
Raise awareness, not children.
Exactly.
Why have we not used that tagline before for something? That's awesome. I love it.
Exactly. Raise awareness. I'm a big advocate. I advocate reproductive responsibilities as much as I do reproductive rights, because not a lot of people talk about it, right? It's like, just go forth and have children, basically. And that's more or less the message that we all get on a daily basis. But not go forth, think about it, and then if it makes sense to you, have children. Which I think it's a much needed message for many people.
And in that vein, in addition to Childfree Girls, you founded the Uprising Spark, and with it, the Honest Uproar, kind of under the umbrella of the Uprising Spark. And you mentioned recently that the Uprising Spark, the Honest Uproar, will be ending at episode 100.
Yeah, I did. I already announced it to my followers.
Okay. So I would like to know, in those 100 episodes, what you're most proud of, maybe what the podcast was designed to do, and whether you feel that mission was accomplished, and what your proudest moment of the Honest Uproar was.
That's a great question. I started the Honest Uproar in parallel with the Uprising Spark. It was more or less at the same time. And the reason I started the Honest Uproar was at the time, there weren't a lot of active podcasts about the child free choice. I know that there was maybe a couple that were made on a hiatus for whatever reason. And I had noticed for several months already in the past that most of the communities that I found online were, and I've said this many times, they were a little bit too toxic. And I was trying to find a space that was more about celebrating us, knowing more about our choice, knowing more about the people who were making the choice to remain child-free, or just to embrace the child-free lifestyle. I wanted to, because the reason is because I couldn't find those places, and I thought to myself, at the beginning, I was like, I must be the only woman in the world who doesn't want to have children. And I realized I wasn't alone in that thinking. So when I founded the Honest Uproar, it was mostly to give a space to women to talk about their story, why they had embraced the child-free lifestyle, and not only about the child-free lifestyle, but also about themselves. So I made it a platform for people from our community. There's child-free women from all different backgrounds, countries, stories, and I think my proudest moments, I wouldn't say it's been just one, but many, it's the messages that I receive from my audience saying, thank you so much for putting these stories out there, because I felt, insert whatever here, I felt alone, I felt ashamed, I felt guilty. And now I realize that I don't have to feel that way because of the inspiration that I've received from all these very strong women that have been your guests, which is true. So I think that my mission was accomplished actually very early into my podcast. I've been doing it for almost 2 years now. So I made a decision that it was time for me to go on and do different things. So yes, the Honest Upper will go only up until episode number 100, which should be the first week of July of 2021.
And how did you doing that podcast, creating it and maintaining it and talking to all these different women, how has that helped you in your own journey? Like embracing, I mean, you had already embraced being child free. You made that decision for yourself and you were probably fairly confident in it, but how has that helped you or enhanced your child free experience by talking to other child free women and listening to their perspectives?
I think it's important to give space to like different stories, right? Because before that podcast, I wasn't sure if me making the decision so late in life, late, quote unquote, after wanting to have children, or at least thinking I wanted to have children, was like normal. I thought maybe people were not necessarily born knowing that they didn't want to have children, but they knew like way earlier. And it was this, for me, it was a little bit, the beginning was a bit confusing. And I think I was also trying to explore this idea about being child free because there's so many gatekeepers, Sully included, so many gatekeepers in our community who like to make the rules about what is child free and what is not. And I wanted to explore more, like different points of view and like just different realities of what it is to be child free. And you can tell, there's not one good or one like correct way to be child free. There's not one. I've spoken to women who, for example, one of them had 5 pregnancies, 5 miscarriages. And after the 5th one, she was like, I'm done. And she decided to embrace the child-free lifestyle with her husband. And now she's a super happy child-free person. There's another person who, a couple, I would say even more than a couple of my guests are with a partner who has children. So they're like their bonus kids, but they're not really involved in these kids, bringing them up in the sense of raising these children. They're like a friendly adult figure. And there's just so many other ways, right? There's also people who are like adamantly child-free since they were like 8 years old. And that's okay too. And I liked seeing how there's no like one way or one, one path that you take to get here, where we all are now in the same boat. We know we don't want to have children. Some of us love children. Some of us don't really care about children, but we're all child-free.
Did you ever have an interview where halfway through you're like, oh my goodness, I picked the wrong guest, or oh my goodness, this just isn't working? Aside from when Kristen and I have appeared on the show, of course.
Yes, I did.
You don't have to name names, but
no, I won't. I did. I can think of a couple. One of them was, so we had gotten into contact and I had explained to her what it is that, my show was about. And I don't know if maybe she didn't know what the word child-free meant. We were talking at the beginning and then we started recording. And then when I asked her about her decision to embrace a child-free lifestyle, she said, oh no, I want to have children in the future. So I was like, sorry. And we just cut the interview short. It was all nice and all very diplomatic, but I told her, you're just not part of the group of women that I want to interview. So we had to cut it short, and of course that didn't air.
And so now that the Honest Uproar is coming to a close, you have something new that you've started, and that's the Child-Free Rallies.
Yeah,
Will you just explain what that is exactly?
sure. So the Childfree Rallies, I started those in April 2021. So it's been only a month, a little bit over a month. And basically what I wanted to do was create a space for child-free people. But this is a space that I think is much needed in the child-free community. And because the main objective of Child-Free Rallies is to actually give a space for people who are part of our community, but who are also part of minorities. Meaning whether that is racial minorities, ethnic minorities, maybe sexual, how do you call it? Sexual orientation minorities. Would you call it like that? Okay. So just people in general, minorities. And the reason is because ever since I entered the child-free space, I noticed that most of the voices that are heard, or most of the most prominent voices in our space are white. And there's just a lot of spaces for white people to express themselves as child-free. And being an intersectional feminist, as I am, I wanted to
Kristen, you're allowed to be in this.
You're allowed to be in this conversation.
It took me a minute to figure out what was going on.
You're allowed to be here. We like you.
If you didn't know what's happening, well, Kristen was just slowly fading away from the frame, going, okay, she's the white girl in the group. I'm just going to leave quietly. Half of me is leaving that direction. You can't see it.
Yeah. Yeah. So as I was saying, I think there's a lack of more voices, or different voices, I would say. Yes, like I'm an intersectional feminist. So for me, intersectionality is very important. So I wanted to give a space to these people, and not only just give a space to them, but also like recognize that they have certain expertise or experience, life, even if it's life experience, doesn't have to be like specifically work experience, with something that might be of interest, not only for our community in general, just because right now I think it's so important. I mean, it's just, I guess that what's been happening since last year in the States and also around the world, and specifically in my country too, just there's been such a bright light shown into all these social injustices. And I think if I can do anything about it, then might as well do something about it.
So you kind of answered this, but I want to go a little bit more into this, and we'll see what Kristen has to say or her thoughts. But why is it important? And I'm going to use the word amplify. Why do you feel that it's important to hold that space and to amplify the stories of, people of color who are in the child-free community, and also what you said about it being very white, which is true, very white and heterosexual.
Yeah.
Especially like when you talk about, we have conversations like Dink Life, like not meaning a group, but I mean, dual income, no kids, talking about couples, child-free couples. The default setting is heterosexual couples.
Yep.
Right. And that's who the most visibility, regardless of color, because there's interracial couples. I mean, there's couples of color, however you want to word it, but it's largely straight. Yep. So why is it important for you to hold spaces, and why is it important for actually all of us to hold spaces?
Yeah. So you just touch into something that I think is very important to say. Like the child-free space is not only white; it's very cis heterosexual white. There aren't a lot of. I haven't heard any voice of anyone who's not cis. Not like somebody who you can say, "Oh, this person is talking not on behalf of," but they're representing something that I know nothing about. And I think that's the importance of it, to amplify these voices. Is we all live in such different realities. And I think maybe this idea came from the fact that I have had the pleasure and the honor to talk to women on my podcast, on the Honest Uproar, who come from so many different backgrounds. Not only people of color, but also people who are part of the LGBTQI plus community and people who are from religious minorities as well. So I think that it's important for many reasons. It's important because I want people to understand that there's not only one way or to live the child-free life. There's so many different realities. There's so many different points of view. There are so many different also needs to be heard for different reasons. So, for example, speaking specifically about race, we all know that white cis women have issues trying to get voluntary sterilization surgeries. But apparently, for the Black and Brown community, it's even harder. They don't believe them, or it's even, it's just, there's a lot more restrictions in that sense. And I'm just talking on one specific thing about being child free. And this is something that not every single child free person decides to do, but it is one thing. And we also know that it's a lot easier for a cis man to get a vasectomy than it is for a cis woman to get a voluntary sterilization surgery. So I think it's also about gender. It's also, and why is it important for everyone to try and make space for these voices? For the same reasons I just mentioned. I think that there's a lot in this world that needs to change because we've been living by the same paradigms and beliefs and rules for a very long time. And if you take the time to listen to people that come from a different reality, not only will you learn something else, but you also might change some of the things that you do, maybe unconsciously, because that's the way you were raised, because that's what other people do, but you don't know that they're being harmful to someone in a minority, for example. So I think it's important as well, because, it's just the realities are just so different. So there's such a stark difference. So I wanted to open that space for them.
And so how do the rallies do that? How do they do it in a way that's different from giving a space to those voices on a podcast like The Honest Uproar? How is this different?
It's different because I pay them. So they get financial compensation for their experience, for their knowledge, and the money that I pay them actually comes from people who subscribe to the rally. So to be able to be part of the rally, people pay a subscription, and part of that money, a large percentage of that money actually goes to the speaker, which I think it's something that also has been raised in many different scenarios, many different communities. It's like, oh yes, people they want my expertise, but they want to pay me by giving me exposure.
Right.
I don't only want to give people exposure. I want to give people financial retribution for their experience, their knowledge, their studies, whatever it is that they come and share with the people in the rallies, because I think they deserve it. And that's also a way of me to play a part into this exchange of information, I guess.
I like that because it's like, I think it's important to know that, because I think I think it would have to be hard to get people it's hard to get people to pay for anything. People don't want to pay for newspaper subscriptions. They don't want to pay for, magazine subscriptions. It's really hard to get people to pay money, but I think knowing that, okay, I'm paying for this. What do I get out of it? Okay, I get a good interview or a good conversation and the benefit of these people's expertise. But like if I listen to Childfree Girls, they have these people on their podcast, and I'll just go back and listen to one of those or something. And I know that what goes on at the rallies probably will be very different from what we do on Childfree Girls. There will be different kinds of questions asked. There will be different topics that are broached. But I really like. Oh, but by the way, if anybody wants to pay us, you're totally welcome.
We actually, somebody did DM us asking how they can support us, but
we need a Patron or something. But I like
buy the book. Buy the book.
Yeah. So hey, someone just did. I looked at the stats.
It's the person that DM'd us. Oh. I told them to buy the book.
They bought the paperback too.
Yeah, that's the link I sent.
It's cool knowing that the money is going toward people who typically aren't paid for their expertise. And I think women of color women in general, but I think women of color experience that more than most, where they are expected, not even just for exposure, but they're expected to give the benefit of all of the education they've gotten and everything they've paid for their education and all of the things they've learned. They're just supposed to give it either for free or for a lot less than other people would get paid for it, especially a white guy. So knowing that this money that people are it's almost like you're not paying necessarily for the rally only. You are paying these people who come on to share what they know and what they've learned and what they've researched, and you're giving them what they're due and what they've worked for.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think because that's the thing, right? When you do something, even if it's for an hour, for example, a rally, the first rally that we did, like I said, it was last month in April 2021. And that rally lasted a little bit less than an hour and a half because we also opened the space in the end for questions from the audience.
And there were some really, really good questions.
Really good question. And only the people who are part of the rally can see the replays. Those are not going to be public. And the replays of the last rallies. Anyway, even if it's like an hour and a half, people will tell you, you're not paying me for that hour or hour and a half. You're paying me for the years of my formation. You're paying me for the years of my research. You're paying me for my experience. You know, it's never about that specific hour. It's for what they bring to that hour that has come from many different months or years of formation or experience. And so that for me, I think I couldn't bring people from minorities and tell them, please come and talk to the rallies and not compensate them for it. That would be, I think that would serve maybe a different purpose. And I think that they deserve to be compensated financially for, you know, what we just mentioned. And also for the rallies, the two like other benefits for people who join are one of them is to be part of a community, which for me it's important, and this is something that I already had mentioned in this specific, I mean, in this interview, and it is that most of the communities for Childfree people that I have seen or have been part of, not all of them, but many are very toxic, and they're very us against them, meaning us Childfree against them parents. And I never, for me, the Childfree choice has never been about that. It has never been about I'm right because I don't want to have children, and therefore everyone who has children is an idiot. It's never been about that. It's always been about the choice. And I think that we're lacking on communities like that. So I also created a community like that in which it's more about us and what can we do for us as a community, and how can we build as a community, and how can we raise awareness as a community. So that's another one of the perks, being part of that community. And the other thing I created was mini rallies. And the mini rallies, I created them because there is a big need. And this is something that I have felt myself, and I have also heard it from many other Childfree people. There is a big need to meet Childfree people in real life. Like I see people making connections online, and that's awesome. But everyone's like, oh, who lives, you know, I live insert city here. Is anyone around my area like to meet more Childfree people? So I thought, well, if you're gonna be part of my database of Childfree rallies, I could just get your information. I mean, if you want to, this is not mandatory. Somebody who comes along to Childfree rallies doesn't necessarily have to give me their information, but if you want to, I can. And the idea is to create groups of people who live, work, and play in the same geographical area so they can get to know each other first online. And then if they want to take it to the next level, which is meeting out, you know, for a coffee with all the mandatory masks and things to be safe from COVID, that's perfect. And then make Childfree friends. And I want to make Childfree friends in real life too. So
I think it's a really cool initiative also because, you know, sometimes people need someone to do the organizing for them, you know? A lot of people, as we've learned, like even putting together this, like Childfree Girls, people often have the same idea, but following through and putting in the work to make that happen. And I think, you know, it's good if people have had the idea of like, oh, I want to meet, like, how do I do this? How do I get involved? I'm just going to backtrack to the conversation about race for a second, because I wanted to ask, you know, for someone who's uncomfortable having or even listening to a conversation about race for whatever reasons, regardless of their color, you know, how would you invite them to participate if their only reason why they don't want to show up for the rallies is because they're afraid, like they don't know what to say, they feel awkward about it, because I've definitely been in that position. And then also too, to the point of being able to meet other people in their own area, like how would you, again, it just invite people to, like, because you're doing the work, you're setting it up, you're offering this safe space where they can just kind of come out of their shell a bit, however they need to do it.
Yeah.
So what would you say to those people who are feeling a little bit like, oh, I don't know, like they want to, but there's like the one thing stopping them, which is like, do I want to meet people, or I feel really uncomfortable having the race conversation?
Okay. The first thing I think it's important to clarify is that conversations are not always about race. I think the first rally was my guest was Dr. Kimia Davis, who we know is actually a specialist on the African diaspora, the child-free African diaspora. And she talked about race, and I think that was a very important conversation. And I understand that people could be uncomfortable. The next conversations that are coming up, for example, for the month of May, is Nikki Gomez. She's child-free, Latina, and Black. She's going to talk about how to manifest the child-free life of your dreams. And that's May. And June, which is Pride Month, I have somebody coming from the LGBTQ plus community. It's family, and she's going to talk about being bisexual and child.
Ooh, that'll be a good one too. Yeah.
So it's not only about race, but I can understand that some of these topics can be a little bit too maybe uncomfortable for people to be there. So we're doing it through Zoom, so you don't have to show your face. You don't have to put your camera on. You don't have to even put your real name on. You're going to get the information to get there. And then if you want to be part of it, you can just listen. And if you don't even want to show up, you can listen, you can watch the replay. And then if you have any questions and you feel that you want to do them in a safe space, you can always DM me or even talk to the person. I know that all the guests that I have invited so far are people who are very approachable and are people who are not only part of our community, but they're very open to talk about whatever it is that they discuss in the rallies very openly with people who are interested to talk about this subject. So I think it's not something that you're obligated to come and show your face and make questions and be part, like, no, you can show up however you want to show up. I think the important thing is to show up. And to the other question, like how to invite people that are like maybe in on the fence about this. I think it's always about trusting that if something is sort of like pulling you in, you can always try it. You don't have to commit to it for the rest of your life. Like I said, Childfree Girls is a subscription-based community. So if you want to do it for a month, you can do it for a month. If you want to like stop after a first month, that's fine. If you want to come back 6 months later, that's fine too. You don't have to make a commitment of years. And I think that's important. And the other thing is I did open a special group for founders. So I have a group for founding members of the community of Childfree Rallies, which I still have some spots open on. And it's a reduced membership price, and you can also take advantage of that still. So that's another way to do it. But I think the important thing is to try, and this applies to everything. If there's something that sort of catches your attention or you're curious about or something that you want to know a little bit more about, you can always try, you can always ask, you can always take that step and then evaluate afterwards. Like I said, you don't have to be committed for ages.
How much does it cost?
So the membership for Childfree Rallies is $25 per month. Like I said, the founding members get a discounted membership of $19 per month. $19 is like 2 coffees at Starbucks.
Is that American?
American dollars, yeah.
Okay. So that's 1.5 for Canadian. 1.5 cups of coffee for Canadian.
Yeah, it's still 2 coffees in Starbucks in Canada. Okay. And then I also have another tier, which is the membership is $37 per month. And this membership, the difference between this membership and the one below it is that they also get another perk, which is to be part of the Childfree Roundtables, which are very, very small, very intimate groups of people who support each other in our Childfree choice. And I'm going to be the one like leading these groups. We're going to meet once a month, and it's when you can like come out and vent and ask and talk about this, whatever is making you feel insecure or angry or just guilty or whatever it is that you're feeling, ashamed. So I think it's sort of like not really therapy because I'm not a therapist, but it's more like group coaching in a way, and you get the support of your peers.
How'd you come up with calling them rallies?
Yeah, that's a good question.
How did I come up with calling them rallies?
Yeah, why rallies? What were some other names you might have gone through? Like, what do I call this thing I want to do?
I, to be honest, I think I explored several names, and I like rallies because it denotes activism. It denotes social and political change. It denotes a group of people who are like-minded on something that they believe in, and they want to take part in the action to, change something or to raise awareness about something or to give visibility to something, shine a light, amplify voices. And this is exactly what I wanted to do. So for me, it was very fitting. And it also goes with the whole idea of an uprising, the uprising spark. So it just everything kind of like fit in like little jigsaw.
I think that's a good book title that me would be very unhappy that she didn't come up with. Child-free rallies.
Those titles were amazing.
Yes, they did. Yes, they were. And if you don't know what we're talking about, you need to check out our last. That was the Halloween episode we did for 2020. Yeah.
So I was at the first Child-Free rally and I thought it was amazing. And one thing I really, really liked actually was the fact that people in the audience could ask questions, because the questions really expanded on, like, the questions that were asked were really specific in this particular case. But what happened was Kimya was able to like really expand and further things, and there was a lot of things I'm sitting here on my phone googling because I'd never heard of before, so it was really, really eye-opening. And I thought that was really cool because the people that were asking the questions were obviously came prepared with some really, really good questions. It just made the conversation like even bigger because it was just, I don't know, there's just something about it that it really went into specific areas, and I learned a lot from that. So I thought that was really cool that the audience can actually ask the guests or your guest speaker questions about whatever they want to ask, which is nice when you can have that interaction. Plus it's live. Like it's a different beast when it's live and you're there live. It's cool.
I did not go to the first one. It's like, okay, there was this one time that I made an appointment to go see a chiropractor. I called the chiropractor, made an appointment to be there in 20 minutes, hung up the phone. Nobody does this anymore, I realize.
I'm like, what is that?
I know, yeah, that's a
banana phone.
Thousands won't understand what you're doing.
So I made this appointment because my back hurt and I was going to go to the chiropractor in like 20 minutes, and I hung up the phone. And then I laid on the couch and turned on a movie. I just completely forgot that I had just made that appointment. Like it just went away. It was the weirdest thing. And I'll remember birthdays, a month in advance, but the day of, it's just not anywhere in my head. So that's what happened with this rally, as I was like, oh, I'm going to be, it's at this time on this day. I'm totally going to be there. And I was not. I was not there. I don't even know what I was doing. I think I was, what I was doing? I was standing my table.
This is why every day, hey, we have this at 3:00. Hey, we have this at 10:00. Hey, we have this at 11:00.
And I knew it that day. That day, I knew it was going to happen. And then the time came and it just flew out completely. So, but I did see you, Lenora, saying that was a great question. Wow, what a conversation, and all this stuff that I felt like
you missed something really, really, really important that you would have gotten a lot out of.
Thanks.
Anytime.
I love missing out on cool stuff. It's just
FOMO.
Definitely FOMO, but I'm going to the next one. I really can't wait. It just sounds phenomenal. I want to know, and this kind of touches on how the whole child-free focus tends to be on people who are cis hetero, probably white. And I know that there's been some dating going on with you, Isabel. And I have a friend who's been doing that too. She has kids, but she's doing the whole like online dating thing, and it's just one nightmare after another, probably because she's in Minnesota. No offense.
Ooh.
Ooh, snap.
But I wanted to know, a couple of people you've dated have not worked out, just like most dating experiences don't work out, because if they all worked out, that would mean everybody is right for you, and that's just impossible. Um, that just doesn't, life doesn't work like that. Relationships don't work like that. But I'm curious to know how important it is to you. Uh, I know that we've talked about how you want to be married someday and you want to be with somebody, but what if you're not? What if that person, that kind of relationship you're looking for, what if that doesn't happen? Um, is it, are you happy enough just existing and having your kite surfing passion and having your work and having all this
World travel.
world travel and all these energizing child-free things you're doing? Like, are you satisfied enough in your life that that is enough, and that a relationship is just kind of a cherry on top? Or is the relationship critical?
It's funny because somebody asked me the same question, and my response was exactly, a relationship for me is the cherry on top. Like, I'm so happy with what I've achieved in my personal life and like just in my personal growth in the past 2 3 years, and a lot of this comes from being part of this space of the child-free space, and being of course part of Childfree Girls. And I have such a fun, happy life, and I don't ever want to settle, in the sense like I won't get married just for the sake of getting married with the first person who just kind of like walk across me and say, "Hey, marry me." I'll be like, "Yes, please, thank you." That's not happen, because if that were the case, I would have been married a long time ago. I don't want to settle because I want this person, this life partner, to be someone who will come to just sort of in a way like make everything that's good in my life even better. So we would have to share many different things. Of course, being child free is the main thing that we need to share, but also we would have to share passions, meaning if it's kite surfing, or if it's traveling, or if it's raising awareness about things, any type of social or political issue. I think it's very important to be able to connect with someone, with especially in the things that you feel are important for you. So no, I won't settle. And if I don't find anyone and I don't ever get married, it's fine. I'll be fine. It's something that I want, but it's not something that is essential for me.
Don't share a bathroom.
No, I could have told you that.
I know. I've had some experiences with bathrooms that are not.
Especially with men. It's just let them have their own bathroom. And
Yeah, it's something about guys in the bathroom. I don't know what it is. I think it's like a fucking war zone after they leave the bathroom. And yeah, I know.
I'll watch all these home improvement shows, and these couples want to share a bathroom, but they need separate sinks. And I'm just like, no, that is not enough. I want my bathroom that I am responsible for cleaning, and you have yours that you are responsible for cleaning, and never the twain shall meet.
Well, that answers my question about your relationship, Kristen. Okay, I know your secret. I know your secret. I just have one question, which you've already touched on, but when it comes to, having a partner that supports your work specifically with the child-free community, because that is the utmost. If I were to invite somebody in my life that way, as far as like creating a life together, and I don't mean a kid, I mean like, having a life partner, it would be like, it's not that they have to be in the show, it's not that they have to write or read or participate publicly, but to have that support of what I'm doing would be is so important to me. And I just wanted to ask you the same, because you are building something. You've been building something now for over 2 years, and part of that is Childfree Girls, and it's a commitment. Like, we have all made a commitment in our schedules with what we're doing. Let's just, even with Childfree Girls itself. So how important is it for you to have, like, if you do meet somebody that way, or when you do, or whatever, however you want to word it, how important is it for you to have their support in the child free conversation and what you were building?
Let me put it this way. It's so important that that was one of the reasons why I broke up with my last boyfriend.
Mm.
He wasn't very happy that I was spending a lot of time doing child-free things, not because it was child-free, but it was because I was just not spending enough time with him. I remember specifically one week, I mean, things weren't working out for many other different reasons, but I remember specifically one week in which our times got jumbled for some reason. We had to do our recording on a different day, our Childfree Girls recording, and I had some recordings for my Honest Upper podcast. I had to change some things around in my schedule. So I remember calling him and saying, listen, stuff changed this week. I can't see you, whichever day we had, agreed to see each other. And I was going kite surfing the day after by myself. I needed this time away as well. And he knew that. And I remember that time, he actually got mad at me because I changed all this stuff and because work was more important for me. And he actually said to me, your work and what you're doing with the child-free community or whatever is not going to like tuck you in at night and kiss you and tell you that it loves you. Those were his specific words. And I wish he's watching this. If you're watching this, it was fucked up.
Hi.
No, if you're watching this, please know that you don't ever say that to anyone. That's just rude. So that was one of the main reasons why I was like, this is definitely not going to work out, because I need someone who's going to be supportive of my choices just as much as I want to be supportive for their choices, right? And being child-free is non-negotiable. Like, they have to be child-free. But if they want to climb Mount Kilimanjaro, I'll be like, yes, fuck yes, go and train. I'll fly with you. I'll like wait for you at the top or whatever it is. If I don't want to do it with them, I don't mean that they have to be here with me, doing stuff, but at least supporting me on my choices. Definitely, I think that's very important.
And not even in a and I think the thing about that is it's not about someone giving lip service to it, like, yes, honey, I support you.
Nah.
It's having someone know you and like you, and not just love you, but really like you and like who you are. And when someone loves you and likes you like that, even if they are not into it personally, if they're like, yeah, man, it's so cool that you're into this, and go for it, go do you. That's, I mean, that's genuine support. That's, I like you and I want you to have fun doing this, and I want you to do what's important to you.
Exactly.
Kristen, I mean, you are married, so even how supportive Ian is with you, and he has written for our blog, and he's showed up in our pregnancy video, like commercial, right? Like, it's cool to see someone like you like to see a spouse who is supportive. And it's not like he's not in the show here, but he has shown up, and I feel like he supports you completely in what you do here. So I think that's a really cool example to see. And it's inspiring, for those of us who don't have whatever. It's just inspiring.
Well, that is our episode for today, the Isabel special. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope you learned a lot about Isabel. We sure did. I learned that I better be at the next rally, or I'll be very, very sad. If you would like to get in touch with us, you can email us at childfreegirls@gmail.com, and you can find us at childfreegirls.com, as well as a number of social media locations that Lenora is going to share with you.
Why, thank you, Kristen. So you can find us. You can find us at Childfree Girls on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I'm no longer going to plug Pinterest because I forget the login password. We are also on Clubhouse. That's where you will find us every single day for audio chats if you have an iPhone or an iPad. Coming soon to Android, we hear. Please DM us on Instagram if you like more information on Childfree Club that we host on the Clubhouse app. You can also find us on Amazon. We have a lovely book, which is, you can see behind me, Childfree Girls Comfort Food for Thought, available on paperback and in paperback and in Kindle, or on paperback and on Kindle. I never get that
Paperback
right.
on Kindle.
In paperback and on Kindle. You can find it, Childfree Girls Comfort Food for Thought, on Amazon, everywhere. You can buy it everywhere. Yeah, and if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below on the YouTube channel. If you are watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. That really helps us out. If you are listening to us on the podcast, please go to the YouTube channel, Childfree Girls YouTube, and subscribe anyway, because that really helps us out. And someone asked how they can support the show. Again, if you want to support the show financially, purchase Comfort Food for Thought and give it to your neighbor. You can also, I don't know, tell people about the podcast, share any episodes that you love, share our memes on social media. That word of mouth is a great way to support Childfree Girls podcast and web series, and we really appreciate you for doing so.
I'm going to buy a copy myself, and I'm going to forget it in a Starbucks.
Oh, that's a great idea. I love that idea. Except I think Starbucks are only drive-through right now here in Canada, but that's an awesome idea.
Or like in a
I
mall
love it.
dressing room or something.
Yeah.
I don't think the dressing rooms are, but you leave it somewhere.
Don't leave it in a kid's toy store, though.
No.
Okay.
And I hope that you enjoy learning a little bit more about me today. So the question is there anything else you would like to know? Anything at all? Ask away. You can leave your question below in the comments if you're watching this on YouTube, or you can send us an email to childfreegirls@gmail.com.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye. No, you say bye.
No, you say bye.
Oh my God, I'm leaving.
You leave first.
I'm going.
Bye.
Bye.